Welcome to issue 14 of the Comix Corner Podcast with B-Lar and Danny P.
Hey, everybody.
Today we have a special guest, Evan Pozios, the writer of Silence #1, which will be signing today at Comix Corner in Fraser from 3 to 7 p.m. Danny P is back with bells on, and we talk about what we're reading, what we're looking forward to, coming out this week, November 20th. New #1s for the week for the collectors to keep an eye out. So let's get right into it. Danny's interview with Evan.
Hey, everybody. I'm excited today. Have a friend of the store. He's been with us for over 20 years. Great person indeed. He owns Gus's Coney Island. His family started back in 1971. Started out as a maritime lawyer, but found a new passion, which happens to be a comic book writer. He's written Blood Run for Scout. He's written Time Grunts for Caliber, and right now he's writing Silence for Afterlight Comics. Pleased to introduce Evan Pozios. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Danny. How are you?
Fantastic. So give us, he's going to be joining us this evening from 3 to 7 for the signing of Silence. Give us a quick synopsis of your new title.
Sure. So Silence is a 3-issue limited horror series published by Afterlight Comics out of Wales in the UK. And it deals with something that most of us deal with on a daily basis, and that's stress and the repercussions of allowing stress to get out of hand in our lives. It's definitely got a Twilight Zone feel to it. If you're a fan of DC's Tales of the Unexpected from the 70s, it would definitely be up your alley. Yeah, the art's by Alex Sanchez, who's worked for Marvel, DC, Dynamite, Boom.
So this is my first time to get to do an interview. Brian's done a couple, so I brought a couple questions with me. So, for me, I just always wanted to run a comic book shop because I grew up in my pops' shadow, and I took over for him. But what inspired you to be a writer, and what comic book just kind of grabbed you, made you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I grew up a Marvel kid of the 80s, and that means Captain America, West Coast Avengers, and of course, G.I. Joe. I love the cartoon. I had the action figures, and of course, I had to read the comics. And an issue that stands out is a silent interlude, G.I. Joe number 21. It was written by Larry Hama. And for me, it just goes to show what you can do in the comics medium. The book, for people that don't know, is silent. There's no dialogue. There's no narrative text. Basically, from panel to panel, it's telling a story. And, ideally, that's what I try to do when I'm scripting. It's heavily art-based, heavily sequentially art-based. The background as an attorney comes in handy because, a story has to make sense. There has to be a logical flow from panel to panel. And I really, was inspired by that. And, of course, the characters from G.I. Joe as well.
I love that a book without words was what got you into it, man. That's fantastic. And you're always telling me you're such a hustler just in life in general, but just different conventions you go to and all these pitch ideas. But getting into this, what's been the hardest part just to get into the comic business?
I think the hard part's not getting in. It's sort of that feeling like, is your work getting noticed? Is the stuff that you're putting your heart and soul into, are people picking it up? Are they vibing with it? Do they enjoy it? And I think if I keep telling stories that are close to my heart, usually my goal is twofold. Number one, try to entertain the reader, but also I want to create some sort of emotional connection to the story and the characters involved. So I think if I keep doing that, good things happen. And so far so good.
Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you here tonight, and make sure you stop on by. Great guy, great writer, and it's a pleasure having you here, my friend.
Danny, I'm really looking forward to meeting Evan tonight and getting a signed copy of Silence #1.
Absolutely. Everybody make sure you stop on by.
And you got both the covers, right? You got the variant and the regular cover?
Absolutely, yeah. And they just screams horror, just fantastic. And even the read itself just seems like you go right to Netflix,
Yeah, I did pick it up and read through it. The kind of story that, it's an everyday story, but little twist, mystical horror area coming at you too, that you don't pick up on right away. But yeah, very much looking forward to meeting Evan and talking to him tonight. So what else have you been reading, Danny?
A couple grabbed me this week. I know you've been hyped with the DC All In initiative and Batgirl. I love the Cassandra Cain Kind of felt back to more of the original series back in the late '90s. There it was her and Lady Shiva running around, and they introduced some new villains, and her kind of little bit of a morality play of trying to figure out exactly who she is. Enjoyed the art in that one from Miyaza. I'm going to say it. The teacher in me feels so bad when I say a name wrong, but the great art and just the back and forth between those two and her just kind of in her head just she's trying to figure out the person she is was a fantastic read. My favorite one this week was from Mad Cave. Actually, it was String, which they introduce a character called Yoon by Paul Tobin, and it was just very original. She has this strange power. She's a consultant for the police, and she sees strings. So one string is blue, and if you're attached to a person with blue, means you slept with them. I'm not really sure how that one's going to come into play, but I found that interesting. And the other one, where she helps out the police officers, is it's black, so it's the murderer connected to its victim, and she has a backstory of when her parents died when she was a kid. She was thousands of miles away, and she's still trying to figure out what happened with them. So that was fantastic, and I love the show with High Potential. I watched with my wife, and just the whole consultant thing with the police fit in there. And then from Marvel, checked out Psylocke, and I know you're big into the X-Men thing. They're starting to bog down a little bit where it's like you have to read everything. I feel because they had some asterisks in here connected to things, but I just love her, and it was cool, kind of showing her origin a little bit in some flashbacks, and she just doesn't want to stop. She wants to keep on working to make the world a better place, and at the same time, she's starting to have this killer instinct back in her, and is almost enjoying killing the bad guy. So that was a pretty cool read. And the last one, I know you're telling me you're into GI Joe, and I know Evan said the same thing. And being raised by hippies, it was a weird life. We had a comic book store and things like that, but mom never was okay with GI Joe and guns and stuff. So I know the characters, but not much. But I thought it was an incredible introduction because like rock and roll and a couple of the other characters I kind of know, but they did this great thing of kind of introducing them, giving a panel, telling you what their powers are, and then getting into the story and just kind of setting up this whole Energon universe that I'm sure we're going to get a big crossover with everybody in the end with the Transformers, but just great buildup of the good guys and of course the Cobra side in there, kind of both going for the same weapons, and just loved it, man. I thought it was a great intro. What did you check out this week?
I read GI Joe also, and by the way, we don't do a lot of talk on covers and variants and things like that, and something more we might want to look into adding a bit about variant covers and ones that we like, just the artists that are coming out. But the Brett Booth Love Say cover with Tomat and Zaymot, or Tomax and Zaymot, and what an awesome cover that was to GI Joe #1. He's one of my favorite artists out there, Brett Booth, and but the story just fantastic. And I wasn't sure because I wasn't reading like the GI Joe Real American Hero. I wasn't sure if they were connected or not, but they're not. So that's really good for me. Somebody who's just jumping into this Energon universe. #1 introduced some great characters. The one thing I didn't talk about last week when I was talking about GI Joe was one of the big differences between the comic book and the TV show was they always used lasers in the TV show, and because they couldn't use bullets, it was too, adult to have these guys run around shooting bullets at people. So they kind of dealt with that in the comic book in the first issue. They introduced them using laser weapons. So I was like watching it going, that's awesome. This is a nod to the comic. Great job. So I've read DC versus Vampires World War V, although I called it World War V last week. It's DC versus Vampires World War V for Vampire, Brian. Yeah. #4. Good issue. Damian issue. We talk about him some more. Batman showed up last in issue 3. They reveal his true identity. Alfred has got Hal Jordan's Green Lantern ring. He's now a Green Lantern. And we got, the whole big topic in this one. The big idea is there is a baby who is Mr. Miracle's baby that through, we don't know how yet, can clear up this vampire disease that is, causing all the vampires and everything. And we've got John Constantine looking for the baby, and then we've got on the villain side, I think it's Granny Goodness. So it was a cloaked older woman with a hood on who is now working with the vampires and trying to find this baby. I read Power Rangers Prime. You called it the absolute Marvel or Ultimates version of Power Rangers. Absolutely agree. It's a backstory goes with in 1954 we get invaded by the Beast Brigade, and there are Power Rangers around that were fighting them, but it wasn't enough. And an alien race called the Alterians show up to help us defeat them, and they stay here and colonize the Earth. And now in our time, it isn't the best for the humans. So they have Lauren, who was the Red Samurai Ranger, has shown up, and just looks like it's going to develop into a long story, looking pretty good. And then I read Arcbound, Dark Horse. It was Scott Schneider who worked with Tom Hardy to create the characters, and it's kind of the Earth is out there looking for materials that they have to mine, and they're, instead of working with the planets, they're just invading them and taking over. So, and Kai, who is the main character, learns that they're not even negotiating anymore. They're just going in and killing everybody, and has a crisis of faith because he finds out that the army that he's part of is just going in, and one world actually surrendered, and they go there and start killing everyone, and they're just telling their troops to go fight. So that's what I've been reading.
I have a question about the DC vampires, as I haven't gotten to that. So, like, is everybody vampires? Is Alfred a vampire that's a Green Lantern now, or do they still have that humans are still kind of able to hide out in that universe?
So the humans are there. What happened in the first series that came out, it finished where Nightwing was actually the vampire king, and Barbara Gordon allowed him to bite her to make her a vampire, and then she kills him to take over the vampires, and she brokers peace between the humans and the vampires. And this we pick up where she was still the vampire queen, and Damien is fighting. He's a vampire, but he's still fighting the vampires. There is a group of humans, Green Arrow is leading them, and they were supposed to have peace. They were going to work with synthetic blood, and they were leaving the humans alone. And there's that treaty is broke down. So we've got, not only do we have the vampires and the humans, but then we have an offshoot vampire group that's led by Damien, who's attacking the vampires. So Alfred, he is human, and he was working with Damien. So was Talia. And then Talia actually in issue 3 was murdered and
Wow.
sent Damien kind of off. But it's just the way they're using the characters. It is an Elseworld story, but they're using everybody who the way they were in normal DC universe. So Hal Jordan was a Green Lantern. They're not making things all different, but they're just using the characters and doing things different. When somebody becomes a vampire, it completely changes their character. So it's been so good that I continue, I look forward to it. And then now this book series, they're throwing out a second story in it. Issue 2 and 3, they had Batmite come to the world looking for Batman who was killed. Yeah. And so that was really good. And this one they're doing, they started a Black Lightning backup story. So you're getting 2 stories for the price of one. And I just highly recommend everything they're doing. And actually, I want to come back to you on a question. Batgirl, Lady Shiva, they're using her a lot. I think she's going to be involved in the Black Canary one that's coming out too, All In. Have you heard that also, or not?
Yeah,
Sure?
yeah, it definitely seems like it. So it's good to see them kind of with this all in, that they're kind of bringing characters that, side characters, using them a little bit more. So absolutely excited to see them doing that, because I love Batman and Superman, but it's good to branch out and have more characters out there in the universe.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And there's so many characters out there that, they're such strong characters, but they don't get used a lot because they aren't part of the Holy Trinity in DC. And when they're taking these guys and they're doing some addition to their background or their story that makes them more relevant and more exciting, they don't let them go away. And that's what I'm liking with DC lately. And the All In, like you said, they're bringing in such good writers and artists to do stuff with the characters. So, do you collect comics and need an easy way to catalog your books? I have the app for you. Try the CLZ app. This app gives you the ability to scan your books using a barcode or individually or as a series. Just type in the book name and click the box and boom, the comic is in your collection. The app has variant covers and most new books each week, even the independents. You can try the CLZ app for free for 7 days. After the trial period is up, it is only $1.99 a month or $19.99 for the year. So get the CLZ app wherever you download your apps today. What are you looking forward to for this week?
Well, to stick with the DC, a question all along the Watchtower. I just love that it's coming back to that all-in special. So far with all the absolute titles, that was one whole side of that book, and it's nice to see them just not having throwaway stuff. So they talked about Montoya, kind of being in charge of, as we get closer here to having a Justice League again, being in charge of the Watchtower. So I'm excited to see that's going to be a new miniseries of her being up there and what she does with it. Terminator number
Well,
two. Oh, yeah,
I'm going to
go
jump
back,
in
go
on
back.
you if you're
Yes,
okay.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, man. Please, yes.
With Renee Montoya, she was in charge of Garden City. Sorry, Dad lives in Garden City. Threw me off. Gotham City Police, and she was commissioner, and they fire her, and they bring in Vandal Savage to be commissioner. So I didn't know what they were going to do with her because I knew she was the question, but I was so glad to see that they took her. They didn't they didn't push her in the background. They're using her. Not only that, but they're making her the Watchtower guardian. Basically,
Yeah,
she's the one who's going to keep an eye on the Justice League.
yeah, and it's cool just to see. I mean, she's been that since the 52 going all the way back. Man, time flies. When I say almost 10 years, so it's cool to see the continuity just kind of not go away. I know not everything can stay the same, but it's nice to see them still use things like that from the past.
Definitely.
And
Sorry about interrupting you, but
no, please
go
do, man.
on.
We're just chatting. So no. But yeah, the next one, I know one of the books you're going to bring up. I'm going to talk about distributing issues lately, but Terminator number two kind of came out last week, but it's officially this week. For whatever reason, Diamond didn't send us that one till Friday. But I really love the first issue. It just had the flavor of the movie, and just was about kind of two people that were part of the revolution against the machines, and just it was a sad story of how they kind of had to hide underground their whole lives. And this issue looks more of the same of a Terminator coming after more people that help out in the future, and it's just cool to see that. It's I don't like all things sad, but it's kind of cool just seeing if they catch him or if they don't catch him by the end. I've enjoyed that, and this one is more. I'm more excited because my son, who's 26, Tyler, he's never really gotten into the comic book universe, and he's actually very excited about TMNT Naruto. So I know you and I were both saying we don't know much of that universe of manga and anime, and but I'm excited for this one and definitely going to check it out. And he got the poster, and he's excited for the comic book this week. And the last one was from Marvel. I've really enjoyed these what ifs. I know they're simple with Donald Duck, but now they're doing what if Minnie became Captain Marvel, and it's just neat to see them using the Disney characters, but also the mythos of the Marvel universe, and it'll be interesting to see how she gets her powers and what they do with that. So, and it's for all ages, which I think is fantastic. I don't feel the industry pushes stuff enough for anybody that's 5 to 50, and this is I enjoyed it as much as I think a kid would, and I'm guessing more of the same with this one. So those were the ones I was most excited about. What were you looking forward to?
Well, I have a good friend of mine, and his daughter is young. I'm gonna say she's too young to be getting a comic book yet, but her favorite character right now is Minnie Mouse. So I am gonna get that book for her, Scarlet Wallace Seals. That's gonna be a book that I will hold on for her and pass it along to her in the future. So definitely gonna pick that up. As the X-Men stuff continues to come out, it's starting to get more and more, like you said, from the ashes this week. We have Exceptional X-Men number 3 is coming out. Looks like Kitty and Emma Frost are going to have some issues they need to work out. Phoenix number 5, Sentinels number 2, Storm number 2, and Wolverine number 3 are all coming out. DC, Batman, Superman World Finest number 33. We got that Eclipso story where Eclipso has possessed Superman and Batman, and basically the rest of the world's screwed. Because if you control those two, yeah, the rest of us we're done. Jenny Sparks number 4. I've really been enjoying this. It's a Black Label book, so I know it's alternate universe, but Captain Atom is just nuts. And you really don't want the most powerful being in the universe to kind of lose his shit. And that's what's been going on with this one. So he's been at a bar, and half the time he's naked because he takes his suit off and doesn't have clothes underneath. He's just with these people he's holding hostage, and they're trying to figure out how to get through to him. And Jenny Sparks is doing what she can. So The Moon is Following Us number 3. Last issue 2, there was a lot of development in that one. They explain why the girl is where she's at in the other universe, and how the mom and dad what they can do to save her. So we could see the follow-up on that. And then Rockefellers number 1, Ghost Machine. It's Peter Tomasi and Francis Manipal. Their book, it's not in the same universe as Geiger or Hyde Street. It's the new universe they're coming out. I believe they're calling it like Family Odyssey. So that's coming out this week. And
I was super pumped for that one too. But like I said, that's one of those that, for whatever reason, we'll definitely have that one next Tuesday. But they didn't send us the right amount of that one. So luckily we'll be getting it. But we'll have to wait a couple extra days. But yeah, that so far everything that has Ghost Machine on the cover, I've loved. So I'm hoping they keep it going.
I agree. And one that we both had talked about, Jeff Lemire's book, Minor Arcana, or Minor Arcane. That number 3, some websites I've seen has it listed coming out this week, but it did ship last week too, didn't it?
That was another one again. That's another one that was on last week's list, didn't come out, but then I got it on Friday. But like you said, using some of the other sites, they have it coming out this week. And I think, and I know Diamond had already sent me a thing again that might happen with a couple of the Dynamite titles this week. So you get humans involved, things happen, and it's nobody's fault. Patience is okay, but yeah, for some reason the lists have been a little off these last 2 weeks. So hopefully we get it back on schedule.
Well, we're ready for our new number 1s for today, November 20th, and we got Archie Comics is coming out with Archie is Mr. Justice. Archie with superpowers. That'll be interesting. Dark Horse has Barstow number 1 and You Never Heard of Me. We mentioned DC Comics, Question All Along the Watchtower. IDW has Godzilla Rivals King Ghidorah vs. Space Godzilla. Sonic the Hedgehog Knuckles Special. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto. Image has Moondogs number 1. Mad Cave has Spectrum number 1. Marvel, we talked about Minnie became Captain Marvel, the What If story. And then Venomore, It's Jeff number 1. Scout Comics has Fear City Thumper number 1. And that is a terrifying looking cover. If you get
it's fantastic, though. Just a crazy looking rabbit. I can't wait to read that one. I mean, when we're opening up books, and that looks like a good one.
When I saw the cover, I'm like, Dan's going to like this one.
Yes.
A Silver Sprocket's got Bloody Mary number 1, and Zenoscope has Bell Shadow of Rose number 1. So those are your new number 1s for the collectors out there looking for new books to pick up. So, Danny, tell us about that subscription club.
As always, we got the subscription going all the time. It's a $20 one-time fee. As long as you keep showing up, you get 25% off the books you're on and 10% off everything else. I always try to put out there what's coming up ahead of time. And if you see something down the road, as long as it's only about 3 months out, you can always let us know, and we'll put you down on it. So make sure you sign up. Some people have been with us the whole 42 years. I'm always out in Fraser, and Keith and Tommy do a great job out there in Rochester. So either place is a good place to sign up. Would love to have you join the club.
Then there's some guys who send their list Tuesday night. But hey, what I do.
As long as I get.
So, well, that's going to wrap up another issue of the Comix Corner Podcast with B-Lar and Danny P. We are part of the SPDM Podcast Crew, and I'd like to thank the CLZ app for their sponsorship. Please check out the CLZ app when you get a chance. Please check us out on social media at Comix Corner Podcast on Facebook and Comix Corner Pod, all one word, on Instagram. And as always, comics is with an X. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Read well, everybody.